one or two questions that we have to be clear about before we come to study the mother's life. First is, there has been quite a loose talk about the various lives of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. We have heard it said that Sri Aurobindo was in one birth Vyasa, he was Leonardo, he was Krishna, and of mother we have been hearing more names with a liberal dose. She is said to have been one of the Egyptian queens, Queen Elizabeth I, Queen Catherine of Russia, Cleopatra, and so on and so on. The popular understanding is that she who was Cleopatra is here today as mother. He who was Leonardo in Italy came as Sri Aurobindo. He who was Krishna of the Gita came as Sri Aurobindo. But that's not exactly true. The truth of the matter is these personalities represent certain lines of manifestation of the divine consciousness. In the infinitude of the divine consciousness, there are varied lines on which the manifestation takes place. Each line proceeds from a particular center, if we can use our language, from the divine being, the supreme. A particular part, I think center would be better, presides over a number of manifestations in that line. And it is in that sense that Sri Aurobindo, Vyasa, Leonardo, and other illustrious shapers of the high points of human civilization have come to be. It is not that he who was Leonardo is today born as Sri Aurobindo. It is not. The presiding consciousness is the same, but the personality, the being, they are different. The identification of the one or two or three comes because the center of origin, the presiding consciousness is the same in the various personalities. Similarly, with mother. She is not the same soul or the same being who took the form of this queen, that queen, and all that. It is that divine element which put out from itself at various junctures in human history for particular purposes. In other words, whether it is Mother or Sri Aurobindo, they are not evolutionary beings who are born to work out their karma, who carry the past samskaras of the previous birth or births. They are not. They are specific emanations for particular purpose from the Supreme. You may call it avatar, you may call it by any name. The fact is, the mother, to confine ourselves to that subject, is a purposeful emanation of the divine consciousness for this purpose. At various purposes, different emanations have been put forward by the same particular consciousness. Today it is in the form of this mother. So we have to be careful when we say that she was so and so. It's not true, nor is it wholly wrong, false. Mother once recalled how all of a sudden she lived or she felt that, yes, she relived that onrush of conquering energy and force which Joan of Arc suddenly felt in a supreme moment of her life. That is to say, the inspiration or the invasion of a divine afflatus in Joan of Arc at that moment which turned history was here, was this one. But at that moment only. On that account, you can't say that she was Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc received that impetus at a high peak of her life from this center, and that was suddenly recalled by her in the present life. For our purpose, it is enough to remember that she is a special emanation of the divine consciousness, the Shakti, for this particular purpose. She is not a Vibhuti. Vibhuti is one in whom there is a certain preeminent quality or power manifest. The Vibhuti is not conscious of the origin of that power, but an avatar. As we have read in the essays in the Gita, is fully conscious that his or her consciousness is divine. The purpose for which that consciousness is embodied in human form, that person is conscious. The degree of the divine charge may differ from person to person according to the need of the moment in the juncture of history. Mother came with a special charge because the work that she was to do, required to do, was something unprecedented. It was to effect a transition, a leap in the evolutionary march of mankind from the human to the divine stage of ascension. It is not from one stage of mind to another, from the tamasic mind to the rajasic mind to the sattvic and so on, but from the highest attained level of the human mind to something beyond, totally beyond the truth mind. And that is why there was such an unprecedented concentration of divine consciousness and power in her. And what were the objectives? Leap from human consciousness to the divine. To effect that leap, to register that and build a bridge between the highest spiritual mind that has been realized so far and the truth mind with all the very different ranges, to build a bridge so that anyone thereafter can walk on that bridge. That is the purpose for which there was this twin manifestation. Concerning ourselves with Mother, apart from this general mission, as steps to bring about this change, there was first the need to manifest and establish divine love on earth as a ruling principle. There have been manifestations of love and divine love in many previous incarnations, no doubt. But this one, a love of a pure kind, unvitiated. Christ came, it was vitiated. Chaitanya manifested, it was partial. Krishna came, his purpose was different. Ananda, love was part of it. But here, for Mother, it was love. That she came to manifest and organize love, I first learnt in very unusual circumstances when I was very young in age. I was talking in a cursory manner with my teacher, with my guide, about the work done by different avatars as described by Sri Aurobindo. He speaks of Parashurama as embodying the Rajasic mind, Rama, Sri Rama, the Sattvic mind, Krishna as the delight principle. So as I was asking and he was explaining, suddenly I asked him, then what is mother's purpose? Without a moment's hesitation, he said, love. Unadulterated divine love. First one has to embody it before one can manifest it. And that love has to be active and dynamic all the time. It has to consciously and unconsciously, if you can say that, oozing out of the being. There was an occasion when I was working on Savitri, writing my explanations. At that time, there was an occasion to speak to Mother about the triple forces. So I spoke to Mother and said, there was the mother of sorrow, there was the mother of might, there was the mother of light, but none of them could deliver the goods. So I said, the mother of light is being followed by the mother of love. And I pointed to her. She found it rather embarrassing, but she smiled. That was all the confirmation, corroboration that I needed. That is the mother of love. So also, once when there was an occasion for distribution during blessings time, it's a long story. On another occasion, a particular passage in Savitri, on reading of which, I had a fantastic experience. And once I had that experience, I felt I should share it with everybody. So that evening when I met Mother, I told her, which is that passage. She asked for the book, she read that passage. 2 pages. And then she said, what next? Then I said, my impulse was that everybody should have that experience. She laughed. And then I proposed that a particular occasion it can be printed in our press and distributed. She said, yes. Next day there was the further idea that some suitable picture of mother could be put. At that time, mother remembered that Pranav had taken 4 or 5 I believe, portraits of her. It was 1960s or so. And she said perhaps they could be put. And then we saw the pictures. Then she said, I will give captions to these pictures. I said, yes. Then she wrote out certitude and realization, ending with realization. And when that was decided, and when the whole folder was to get ready, we needed a caption, title. So she looked round and asked us, what do you say, what do you say? So each one of us in our foolishness proposed something, one line here or some expression. But she said then, shall I tell you what came to me? She said. I said, yes. Then she wrote out, forever love, comma, oh beautiful slave of God. That was breathtaking. She admits she's beautiful. She admits her function is to love. And afterwards, that folder was printed with a blue cover, and I believe twice it was distributed. Now it is out of print. There were 5 pictures, beginning with aspiration, certitude, I don't remember now. Later, because I knew it would be lost, I included it in a book of mine called Breath of Grace, all the 5 pictures. That book also is now out of print. And the passage was when Sri Aurobindo describes young Savitri, who was a leader by right. Wherever she goes, she is followed by people. Some people protest. Those people who protest because they can't bear her weight. She said, complain against a yoke they would have wept to lose. It is in the 4th book. She walked in their front, beginning with that. Where did I begin? I'm going from, yes, question of love. And the second purpose was transformation. Transformation, as we have noted, is not a change, but it is a turn in the very texture, turn in nature, turn in being, the very substance of the being. A mighty task which has not been done till now. To effect this, naturally, there had to be an unparalleled concentration of divine consciousness and force. Somewhere she says that the Universal Mother took 1,000 years to assemble all the ingredients that were necessary for this embodiment. And at that time she said also, not a very happy thing to recollect, she said, and when I am to leave, I would need notice to put back all these things in their respective places. And I watched. It took her nearly 6 months, a period in which she was mostly in trance. 6 months nearly, to dispossess herself of all these things assembled by the Divine Universal Mother. and then alone she left the body. This is a very conscious process. She was aware of every bit of the ingredients that formed her various bodies. She was also aware of her long, long past. She said, I am 1,000,000 years old and am waiting. Now, what does it mean? I am 1,000,000 years old and am waiting. Waiting for what? We do not know. She didn't spell it out. Obviously, for the hour, for the moment of the plenary manifestation of the divine on earth. That is the background in which we have to approach the story of our external life. Our external life is interwoven with this mighty background. It reads like a romance, like mythology, history, all these things together. Mysticism, all these things together. And the details that we have, they relate only to a fragment of our oceanic personality. Where she chose to be born and why and how. I think these are themes we had better reserve for our next session.